Today on Independent Wrestling Profiles, we're talking with Ref Abby. Let's start at the beginning. I'm going to assume that anybody involved in the industry started off by being a fan. When was the first time that you were exposed to the professional wrestling industry?
So my dad is a huge fan and always was since I was very little. I remember from a very young age watching him. We were a video game household, and I remember watching him play the old WWE games since I was very small. And like any kid who grows up with a wrestling fan for a parent, I took many suplexes onto the couch, and we had a trampoline, so like that stuff. And I grew up doing martial arts because my dad teaches Taekwondo, and I did that for most of my childhood. And once a year, we would have like a fun day we would call wrestling day, and it was where my dad got to like mark out a little bit. And we would just rent out a gym and have like crash mats and do like a battle royal and stuff like that. So there's a picture of me somewhere as a little kid holding big gold, but like a tiny version of it. So from when I was really little, but it wasn't a part of my life after that, other than me knowing about it generally from when I was a kid. So it's like it was always there, but it wasn't like a huge thing until the summer where it all started. So, yeah.
That's not an uncommon thing. You know, there's a lot of people that as they're going through adolescence, they get busy with social interactions, other after school activities. Some even are just embarrassed because it's not cool to be a wrestling fan. But we do always ultimately come back to it. Yeah. Do you remember what it was that brought you back into wrestling? Not just in the back of your mind, but hey, this is actually going to become a prominent thing again.
It's really strange. It was a complete fluke, complete happenstance. My dad and we were at our local theater because we were doing a play. He was directing and I was acting. And we were just waiting. It was during a rehearsal and we were waiting in between scenes or something. And I was sitting there scrolling on my phone, and so was he. And he looked at me and he was like, "Hey, Abby." I was like, "Yeah. Do you want to go to a pro wrestling refereeing seminar?" And I was like, "Okay." That's super random, but my thought process was like, my dad loves it. I had been to, I think, 2 indie shows at that point, maybe 3, just 2 actually, I think. And I almost said no because I was like, that's the most random thing you've asked me to do. And it was after COVID where like I hadn't been to the city yet. Like COVID had just started settling down, but there were still some restrictions. And so I hadn't been to the city, and I was like, that's really weird. But I sat there and I was like, yeah, let's do that. Super random. He just happened to be scrolling on Facebook and an ad came up for it. Yeah, the rest is history there, because I went, and now they can't get rid of me. So
tell me a little bit about that seminar, because you went on the suggestion from your father. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that's not a bad thing, but at some point you would have had to take that mantle and carry it for yourself because it sparked something inside of you.
It did.
Can you take me through a little bit of like your thoughts and feelings, and maybe even some of the motivations that might have been sparked during that seminar?
Yeah, so it was a 2-day seminar that led into a show. So it was for Kaizen Pro Wrestling down in Dartmouth with Covey, and at the time there were 4 owners at the time, but Covey was the coach there of the school, and Joshua Ruxtall, Squishy is his like gimmick name. He was the referee that was actually hosting the seminar. I think he's in BC now. So it was a 2-night thing. We went up, and I was really nervous because I was like, I haven't, like, this completely alien to me. And me and my dad did the seminar together. Like, we both participated. They had a lot of people coming from out of town, like coming to the building to train and help out, because there was the anniversary show was the next day. So like just seeing the atmosphere and the friendships and the people, and trying something completely new and foreign for a first time, doing something, because it's such a weird it's not like, oh, you're trying a new sport. You're trying a new sport that's also a theater thing, that's also, and it's like the weirdest thing to try for the first time. And the people were so kind and open. And I remember, I think the very first, we just had the 2 days of it. And I think on the first day or the second day, I can't remember, Dave Boyce wanted to check and see how all the like members of the group could like react if a wrestler got in their face. And so he literally lined us up and just started ripping us all a new one just to test and see how we could. And I remember I got so in his face and like did this one because they had just taught me that. I just learned it and I pulled out the like, I'm the referee, whatever. And I remember being like, what is this? I just yelled at a full grown man I met literally this morning, and it was like celebrated. It was hilarious. I was like, this is the craziest thing. We had such a good time that me and my dad actually started training. Like we lived 3 hours away from Kaizen, but we would go up every other weekend to train for like the 2 days. We'd go up, train, stay in a hotel, train the next day, then go home. We started doing that, and I was hooked. And my dad, like he's been in martial arts for many, many years, and his body doesn't really agree with him doing this sort of thing, no matter how much, like he's always really wanted to, but his body doesn't really agree with it anymore. So I decided to kind of, for my own self and for him, kind of take the torch and run with it. So here we are.
Okay, so take me through the journey from training to actually becoming a referee. What were the steps that were required for you to actually get into a match and referee and start actually playing the role?
It was so scary, and I had a phenomenal support system, and thank God. Otherwise, I never would have done it, because I was going up to train, like I said, almost every other weekend, sometimes every weekend if I could. Basically, Covey trains newer students on Saturdays and Sundays, and so whenever like the newer students were in, I would be there, be at the ring. I was absorbing what they were learning, as well as whenever they were practicing, like if they were practicing pin drills or practicing chain or anything like that, I would get in there and just be like a body in the ring just to get used to that space and everything. And it was just reps and reps and reps of being in there. And I did a few like training matches in there. And it was just, the hard part is that almost nothing, like no matter how many reps you do in the training building, there's nothing that can prepare you for going from there's 5 people here in the training building to this is recorded at the venue with 200 people in the crowd. Like the jump from those two things is insane, and there's no like easing your way into it. So I had a really good support system of people who really like made sure I was ready and believed in me that I was, which again was good, because I don't think I would have ever thought I was ready. I'm very much a perfectionist, and I never felt ready, but we did the drills. They prepared me for everything. I probably asked Covey 75,000 questions. And I made my debut on December 10th, 2021. I did, I think, 2 matches that night, and I've been hooked ever since. But yeah, I'm so glad I'll never have to make a jump like that again, because it was like the scariest thing to go from the training building to under the lights. And yeah.
Was that something that you chose, or did they tell you this is the day that you're going to do it?
They pretty much had to tell me. They were like, you can do it. You're ready. You're doing it. And I was like, are you sure? I don't think so. I don't think I'm ready. I don't know. And they were like, you're doing it. I was like, okay. They had to force me, like with love, force me. I would have never, if they had asked me, like, do you think you're ready? I would have been like, no, forever. So they pushed me out of my comfort zone in a good way, and it turned out to work, and it worked out fine. And I had my debut was really fun, and it's just a matter of every time I was out there was feedback, watching my matches, and moving forwards. But yeah, it's a crazy thing.
That first night you did 2 matches. How did it feel when you finally got out there, and what sort of feedback did you get when you were done?
It was terrifying. And I remember I have a very, like, even now, back then and still now, I have a very stern expression. Like when I'm out there, I used to referee for martial arts. So like part of me it's still very, I take it very seriously. And I get told that a lot. They're like, you're very serious out there. I'm like, yes, I'm working. It's important. But I remember I went out there and I was so nervous, so nervous. And I had like extensively prepared myself and to the best of my ability. But I went out there, I was so nervous. It went fine. Everything was good. And I came back and I like took a breath for the first time probably all day. I remember Covey saying, he was like, I said how nervous I was. And he was like, I could see it on your face for the first 5 minutes or for the first few minutes. He could see it on my face. But then like after that initial, I settled into it and it was fine. But yeah, that first few minutes, and you can see it on my face too. It's on IWTV. You can, it's really in there. The like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this in front of a crowd. But after the fact, it's just like that. I grew up doing theater too. So it's the same thing. Before you go out, you're so nervous. You're like, why do I do this? This is awful. I hate this. And then as soon as you get back, you're like, oh, that was awesome. That's why I do this. And the cycle repeats. So
I'm very curious because most of the people that get into the performance side of professional wrestling come from like a really deep fandom of it.
Mm.
What did starting to referee do to rekindle your actual fandom side of professional wrestling?
Oh, it was everything. And it's hard too because I wasn't like a very intense fan when I started, and it's still a thing now. It makes it harder in certain ways because somebody will come up to me and be like, okay, and then I'm going to do this. And they'll like name a name of a move that I've never heard before because some moves have like 10 different names. And I'm like, hey, I promise I know what I'm doing. However, can you please show me what that looks like? And some of them look at me like, how are you even here? And I'm like, no, I do know what I'm doing. I promise. I have a lot of catching up to do. And it's taking me a little while, but I started watching. I remember, I think at the time I didn't have access to WWE except for pay-per-views, but I did have access to AEW at the time. And so I was watching that pretty regularly and really getting back into it was really fun. And I got to do it with my dad, which was really nice because we had never watched it together, but I got to get back into it and it's really nice. But now I feel like I'm playing a never-ending game of catch-up, trying to get all the lore back in my head and get all the everything. It's been 3 years now, and I'm trying my best, but I'm really enjoying it. And like now, every Monday, I'm like, all right, let's Raw, let's go. Every Friday, I'm like SmackDown, let's go. And it's so strange because it really wasn't a part of my life in my adolescence or like young adulthood at all. And now it's like it's back, and it's so fun. It's so fun.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, now that you are watching it regularly, now that you are a fan, who are some of your favorite performers?
That's really hard because I like certain ones are nostalgic for me. Like when I was little, I don't know why, when I was little, I loved Sting. And like Sting was one of the wrestlers that I remember the most from when I was a kid. And obviously he's retired now, but like in the past couple of years, anytime he was on TV, I was like, it's Sting. And everybody was always like, why? That's so random. Like, not that like they weren't saying anything bad about him, but they were just like, that is so random. I'm like, I know, it's a nostalgia thing for me. But like currently right now, I mean, it's probably a cop-out answer, but I love me some Rhea Ripley. She's one of my favorites to watch. She's the first one that comes to mind. Oh, I really, really love watching Tiffany Stratton right now. Oh, who is, she's new. Stephanie Vaquer?
Vaquer?
Yes.
I'm not 100% on the pronunciation of the last name.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think it's Vaquer, but I'm not sure. She's, I saw her for the first time she showed up recently on TV. She's really cool. There's a lot that I'm starting to really enjoy independently, but also in groups and stuff. But it's I like a lot of them. It's hard to choose.
All right, so let's go back to your career then. It's been a few years now that you've been refereeing. Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite matches that you've had, whether they be milestone moments, whether they be just great matches that the crowd was really into? Like, mm-hmm. What were some that, if you think back to the career thus far, just stand out as highlights?
Ooh, for me, honestly, some of the career highlights, and this is probably the theater kid in me, but some of my career highlights have been not so much entire matches, but like storyline segments that I've been involved in, or even like close to. Those are the moments that like will like I'll get like the adrenaline shakes sometimes, and like those are moments that stand out to me a lot. But as far as matches go, I remember the very first time I did a longer match. Like, it was the very first time, I think it was a main event. It was really early on, and it was like, I think it was Covey Christ versus Charlie Hubley, actually. And it was the first longer, like more intense match that I ever did. And I remember going out back afterwards and just with a huge smile on my face, because like the crowd was super into it. It was the main event of that night. It was like, it went on for a while, and I had like the adrenaline shakes were going, and it went smoothly. And I just remember that feeling of like, holy crap, like I was just part of something so cool that so many people enjoyed. And that was the first time I had that really intense feeling of that. And I don't remember what show it was, but I just remember it was the first time that I felt that like buzz after a particularly awesome match that was like, oh, I was like, oh man, that went so well. And that was a good feeling. Like, thinking back really quickly, there's been so many matches that I have like, with whether it's with like a crowd that is so amped up out of freaking nowhere, or like two workers that I never thought I'd share the ring with type thing. Like recently, I've shared the ring with Gabriel Fuerza a few times. And like every time I'm in the ring with him, I'm like, this is insane. This is insane. Like, I can't believe I'm here. And like, I used to, like back in Nova Scotia, like I've seen clips of him working, and like people up here, especially in this area. And I'm like, that's crazy. And then when I'm in there and I realize that it's happening, I'm like, I'm the one that's in here with these people, and that's nuts. And it happens all the time, basically. Almost every show, there's a moment where I'm like, that's crazy. I can't believe I was a part of that. And they just keep happening. It hasn't gone. There's no stagnancy at all. Every show, something new happens that makes me like not be able to process that it's real.
This might be a tough one, but it's a little bit in vein with what you just said. Has there ever been a moment in a match where you were just like, I can't believe I just witnessed that, and then almost had to like shake yourself out of it because like, oh right, I have a job to do here. I can't just be starstruck by this move that happened or something, and I got to get back into it. Has that ever happened?
It sure has. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but and I'm sure it's happened more than once. But I remember, I wish I remember the exact, like who it was and what happened. And I don't, but I do remember literally watching something and being like, that was awesome. And then literally having to be like, oh my God, they're in a pin. And I literally was like, oh my God, I need to count that. And it's hard sometimes, especially when I was first starting. I was so like in awe of what was happening in front of me really early on that it was really hard to like focus on the task at hand, because I was like, oh, that's so cool. And it still happens, but I'm able to focus a little better than before. But sometimes stuff happens that comes out of nowhere that takes me like right back into being a fan for a second. And I have to be like, ooh, you're working. You should probably get back in there.
I've had moments where I've been starstruck myself. Has there ever been an interaction, whether it be backstage, not when you're, being professional in the ring, where you were just completely caught off guard in a surreal moment with, I can't believe that I'm talking to this person, or that I'm at this company, or just something that would have never happened if I wasn't part of this industry?
Yeah, and it's happened a lot since moving here too. The most recent and probably most shocking one was, I think it was in April, I worked for Smash Wrestling, and I plodded on up to the venue, and I parked, and I went inside, and I came in this room, and I literally stopped and looked around, and the venue for that show, I was like, this gotta be the wrong place. I was like, there is no way. It was such an insane venue, and I started to look around and see everything that was going on. I was like, oh, this is real. I think I stood there just in the opening of the room like a weirdo for probably 15 seconds trying to take in the fact that I was there to work. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. So it's surreal, and it never stops. Like, I always find something, but like, yeah, stuff like that just still takes my breath away. And I'm like, I have no idea how this is my life. And this is what I do on weekends. It's unreal.
All right, so take me through a couple of the bucket list items. It doesn't have to be like end game type stuff, but
Yeah.
where would you like to see yourself next? Whether that be traveling to a destination for a show, working for a particular company, or even just some performers that you would love to be part of the performance with.
Like, if I'm thinking like a little bit more shorter term, coming up from Nova Scotia, the now that I'm in Ontario, the opportunities for like different companies to work for has gotten much larger. Obviously, there's still like quite a drive, but it's more attainable. So there's companies around here that I would love to work for that I haven't gotten to yet. Smash was one of them, and I couldn't believe, like, I still can't believe that happened sometimes. I'd love to just branch out more and even further in Ontario. I would love to at some point, of course, like, who doesn't, but at some point, I would love to see if I can spend any time like at a TNA show doing anything to help out with that, because they do come around sometimes, and that would be a really cool experience. But again, what local, wrestler or referee doesn't want to do that? I don't know. I really do want to be able to like travel to the States for a show at some point within the next year. I would like to. I have I've been reached out to by a few promotions down there, and I don't have a passport yet right now. It's on my list, but I've been asked, and I'm like, I can't yet, but I promise it's coming soon. So that's one of my goals for like the year, is to be able to go down to the States for sure.
And what about any performers that you would like to referee?
There's so many. It's so hard. It's so hard to like narrow down. And honestly, a lot of the people that I wanted to work for when I came here, I've had the opportunity to already, which I didn't think would happen. Like, Fuerza was one of them. I got to referee Alexia Nicole recently, and she's been on my list for a long time. I would obviously love to work with some talent that have been on TV, like when they come around, and I have a couple times, but it's always good to be able to do that, because you get to kind of pick their brain about more of a TV side of things, which is nice. I do have referees that I would love to work with. I honestly think about that sometimes more than wrestlers, which would really like to work with Allison Lee. She works with TNA. We've talked a few times. She's very nice and supportive, and I would love to work with her. I also really want to work with Rosie the ref. She's down in Chicago, I think. Also a very sweet human, and I would love to work with her. And there was one more recently I was thinking about. I think her name is Scarlett. She's a female referee down in the States, I think. Yeah, so sometimes I honestly think more about referees I would like to like never share the ring with, but working with. I think about that sometimes more than workers, like wrestlers themselves. So I've got some bucket list referees for sure.
Do you ever think about working a match in any form of like outside of refereeing? Have you ever thought about, even if it's just part of a program where you get maybe into some more physical altercations or anything like that, but have you ever thought about crossing the threshold to doing a little bit more on the performing end?
I think if any referee said they never thought about it, I think they'd be lying, because of course, like, especially being someone who grew up doing martial arts and stuff, it's when you see people around you doing it, and you're like, oh, that looks like a good time. I'd love to try that, or even be in a segment or something. And I've done a couple little things like that. Like, I've been involved in a little bit, but not nothing crazy. And I don't think personally that I will ever truly cross that threshold. It's a tough topic, because it would be so fun to just like do it for a night, but I also I'm very hard on myself, and I hold wrestling as an actual wrestler. Like, that is it's almost like a sacred art, I think, to me in my head. I take these things very seriously. And I feel like I could never, like, if I were to just like do it for one night, I feel like I don't know if I would like the way that would make me feel, if that makes sense. I don't feel like I could, like, there's no amount of like training for a couple weeks just to bang out a match that could ever do it justice and like make me feel good enough about it. If I ever did cross that threshold, it would be starting from scratch, training to be a wrestler the same way that everybody else did. I don't think I'd ever, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody who has done that, because I know a lot of referees have like reffed for a night or wrestled for a night or something. I just, I don't know if I could see myself doing it, but that could change also.
Okay, well, let's put you on the spot and we'll boil the question down to a little bit more of a specific type. Referees get a lot of flack.
Yeah.
The best referees usually don't get noticed at all. If they do get noticed by the audience, they're usually getting heckled or jeered.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same vein, sometimes performers like to push their buttons a little bit, get in their faces.
Mm-hmm.
Not even wrestling for one night, just one move, right?
Yeah.
Who is a performer that should get their comeuppance if you were to ever retaliate with, even if it's just one move or a throw through a table?
Like, who deserves it?
Yeah.
You know who yells at me a lot? In the ring, who's in my face all the time. He's never nice to me. Frickin' Draven Caius, man. That guy is in my face in the ring all the time, and I would love to throw him through a table. I really would.
All right, Draven, you've been put on notice.
I would love to throw him through a table, I gotta tell you.
Okay, so before we sign out, I just want to ask you one last question that I ask pretty much everybody, and it'll just be slightly altered for you. If you were to be able to go back and talk to a younger version of yourself who was just starting out on the path to refereeing, what piece of advice would you give yourself that could possibly convey to somebody else who's currently debating or on the fence about doing it themselves?
I would probably touch on, there was so much uncertainty for me when I started. The like, why am I doing this? It's kind of silly. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of whatever. I would probably go up to her or somebody who is kind of on the fence about it, and tell them that this industry is unlike anything that you will experience in any sport or theater or whatever. It's its own thing. It's the most unique, like, incredible industry to be involved in. It has its downs, and like, keep your head on your shoulders and like stand up for what you believe in and don't let people push you around. But if you allow yourself to get involved and put your heart into it, you will experience things that like you never thought you would, and you'll thank yourself for putting in the work, doing it right, and getting a good group of people around you, because the people that you're involved with in this industry will make it or break it for you. Especially if I were talking to a young woman who was looking to get involved, that's a huge factor, is the people you surround yourself with. But yeah, just to give it a try and go all in and put your heart into it, and what it gives back to you will be beyond worth the little bit of ridiculousness you feel at the beginning. So.
Very well said. Before we sign out, can you just let people know once again who you are and maybe where they can follow you online if they want to keep up to date with what you got going on?
Sure. I'm Ref Abby. It's my gimmick name, I guess, or what have you. It's nothing fancy, but Ref Abby, that's me. And I have an Instagram. It's ref_Abby. You can follow me on there. And I have a Facebook. It's called Abby Muse Pro Wrestling Referee, but it's PW, so Abby Muse PW Referee, that I need to actually update more often. But I'm on there as well. You can send me a friend request, and I think that's it. I don't have X or Twitter or whatever, so
I refuse to call it X.
Yeah, it's weird.
Twitter.
It feels weird coming out of my mouth. I know it's correct, but it feels weird. But yeah, so Instagram, ref_Abby. That's the best place to reach me, and that's where I'm most active. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Independent Wrestling Profiles. Please help out the show if you can with a like, subscription, or review. We'll see you next time.